I'd like to welcome everyone to the June 19th, 2014 Blount County Board of Commissioners meeting. If you'd please give your attention to the emergency evacuation procedures.
Before we get started, let me read the emergency evacuation procedures. In the event of an emergency evacuation, an alarm will sound. Everyone should exit the building by way of the nearest stairwell in a safe and effective manner. If the nearest stairwell is blocked by smoke, use the other stairwell. Do not use the elevator. Once you have reached the main floor, follow the exit signs to exit the building and quickly proceed away from the building. Please be mindful of others evacuating and of emergency vehicles.
Commission will now come to order. Please register your presence by voting yes.
You have 20 present, 1 absent. You have a quorum.
20 present, 1 absent. Commissioner Hasty had a conflict in scheduling. Chair will now stand for a motion to set the agenda.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Wright moves. Ms. Lambert seconds. Discussion. Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to set the agenda. Vote no not to set. Mr. Wright.
You have 20 yeses.
20 yes, 1 absent. The agenda is set as published. Next item is consent calendar. The chair will stand for a motion to approve the consent calendar. Motion by Commissioner French, seconded by Commissioner Carver. Discussion. You wish to be recognized, Commissioner French? Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to approve the consent calendar. Vote no not to approve.
You have 19 yeses and 1 abstain.
19 yes, 1 abstain. The consent calendar is approved. Moving to agenda item C, public input on items on the agenda. Ms. King, if you'll come forward.
Thank you. I'm Linda King with Citizens for Blount County's Future. I'll be speaking on F, 2B, and 3. Financial wisdom starts with a plan for spending. However, we see money being pigeonholed for capital projects without so much as a list of work to be done or priorities set in motion. This compares to giving a kid $20 to go to the theater. Unless you specifically tell them that the show costs $8, the soda and popcorn another $5, and that you expect $7 to be returned, you'll never see the change because it will magically disappear. The same thing happens when you randomly set aside $500,000, $800,000, or $1 million without a specified, itemized list of projects to be done. The cost of the work will magically ultimately amount to the figure you've chosen. When money is available and is offered, it will be spent. Look at what's happening with our rainy day fund. Instead of putting turned back money into the general fund, it was spent on bonuses. Apparently, it was burning a hole in someone's pocket. The opposite should be happening in our local government. Departments should be presenting priority needs, not wants, and a plan put together to cover those at the top of the list that are affordable. Capital projects need to be identified before any talk of pigeonholing taxpayer money. That money needs to remain undesignated, to be used only when emergencies occur or priorities are defined or used to pay down debt. The private sector works hard to earn their money. Then we see our taxpayer dollars set aside nonchalantly without a definite plan, as well as on ridiculously large raises for elected bureaucrats.
Anyone else? Seeing no hands, we'll move to item D. There's no business under item D. The next item of business is item E. The chair will stand for motion on E1, Resolution 1405008, declaring the property at 3122 Miser Station Road, Friendsville, Tennessee, surplus and available for sale.
I'll move that, and I have an amendment.
Commissioner Sample moves. Commissioner Melton seconds. Commissioner Samples, you are recognized, sir.
Teresa, the purchasing agent, asked me to do this. We need to amend this. It was set out as 1 acre, and it is actually 1.07. So the deed and the resolution will need to read that it's 107 acres after the research was done. So I just include that in my
Without
motion, if that's
objection.
okay.
Hearing no objection, the motion is amended. The resolution is amended to read 1.07 acres in the second whereas in the preamble. The motion is to adopt Resolution 1405008 with the change to 0.107 acres. Mr. Folks, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Everything, it looks like a nice job was done researching this time. We have all the data. For the future, if we ever do this again, though, we ought to have something written into the legal agreement that says that whoever we give the property to has a responsibility to maintain it in good order, so that when we get it back, it's worth something. That property over there has not been maintained, and it will probably have to be bulldozed. So we gave them a good building, and what we got back was nothing that's very useful. So if we ever do this again, there ought to be requirements that whatever organization ends up with the property, that they have to maintain it to some standard. Thank you.
Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt.
You have 20 yeses.
20 yes, 1 absent. The resolution is adopted. The next item of business is F1A. The chair will stand for motion on F1A. Request for a budget transfer in the drug court fund for $11,100. Ms. Lambert moves. Commissioner Carver seconds. The motion is to approve the budget transfer, the drug court fund. Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to approve the transfer. Vote no not to approve.
You have 20 yeses.
20 yes, 1 absent. The transfer is approved. Next item of business is F1B. Stand for a motion on F1B. Request for a budget transfer in the highway fund, $80,815. Commissioner Samples moves. Commissioner Lambert seconds. The motion is to approve the budget transfer in the highway fund. Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to approve the budget transfer. Vote no not to approve.
You have 20 yeses.
20 yes, 1 absent. The transfer is approved. Chair will stand for a motion on item F1C, request for a budget transfer in the debt service fund, $14,575. Commissioner Lewis moves. Commissioner Burkhalter seconds. The motion is to approve the budget transfer in the debt service fund. Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to approve the budget transfer. Vote no not to approve.
Have 20 yeses.
20 yes, 1 absent. The transfer is approved. Next item of business is F2A. The chair will stand for a motion on F2A. Resolution 1406002 to amend the general county fund budget by $10,000. Commissioner Carver moves, seconded by Commissioner Lambert. The motion is to adopt Resolution 1406002. Commissioner Folks, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Apparently, I guess I'm a bit confused by this, but it looks like we have a department, specifically the drug court, that overran their budget by $10,000, and now we're actually taking money out of the general fund and moving it to the special fund. I think this sets an awful precedent. Someone overruns their budget, and then we just come up with more money to put in. Is that what we're doing? I'd like to address that to Mr. Vineyard's standing. I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Commissioner Folks, that's Mrs. Janot.
Okay.
It's my understanding that there's a timing issue. The drug fund is a separate fund balance than the general
I
county
understand
fund.
that.
But I will recognize Ms. Janot for an explanation.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Foltz. There are potentially a couple of audit issues around this. We are not saying that they have necessarily overspent their budget, but from an audit perspective, we have to end the year in any fund with a positive cash balance and a positive fund balance, as well as obviously they could not overspend their budget either. That would be another audit issue. And we, based on our projections, it would appear that potentially they could have one of two problems. Either their cash balance could end up negative given their current spending, and or their fund balance could end up negative. And that's if we roll their beginning fund balance plus current year revenues minus current year expenditures to come up with an ending fund balance. Potentially that could end up negative. This will remedy that.
Well, were they over budget, or was their revenue? Yes.
Through the chair, please. I'll
With your
recognize
permission, Mr. Chairman. Was their revenue under what was budgeted, or was their spending over what was budgeted?
Ms. Janot, you recognize.
It's my understanding that their revenues have not come in according to estimates.
Okay. And they didn't reduce their expenses to match their revenues, is why you're presented with the potential audit problem.
You're not recognized. Is that a question, Mr. Folks?
Yes.
Ms. Janot, you're recognized.
Could you please restate the question?
Well, the question is, their revenue was under what they budgeted, and they didn't reduce their expenses, and therefore you are presented with the audit problem that you referred to. Is that accurate?
Ms. Janot.
My understanding from their department is that they have experienced a shortfall in their revenue collections this year.
And they didn't reduce their expenses, or we wouldn't be talking about this. Okay. And I noticed that in the new budget, this fund appears to be folded into the general fund. Is that accurate? Am I understanding what's going on properly there? With your permission, Mr. Chairman.
Recognized.
Yes.
And I would just put the question, why is the general fund taking over this? Why is this suddenly, it was a separate fund all by itself, and now it's being rolled into the general fund, and the question is why? With your permission, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Janot, you're recognized.
Yes. The auditors have suggested that we do that going forward. The problem at hand really underlines why it needs to be folded into the general fund. The auditors have requested that we do that.
We roll it into the general fund so we can bury the fact that it's overspending its revenues. That doesn't sound like a good solution. Where does its revenues come from? Where does its revenues come from? With your permission, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Janot, you're recognized.
They have grant funds. Let me pull up their information here. They have grant funds in the amount of $70,000 that come in. That's a reimbursement of salaries, I believe, from the state. They have some fees that come in through the circuit court clerk's office. And they have also, obviously, based on this discussion, they have used their fund balance.
The fees from the circuit court clerk's office, is that something that this commission can set? Could we raise the fees to eliminate this problem?
Ms. Janot.
I don't know.
Could you look at that for us for the next meeting, the budget meeting? Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt.
Have 20 yeses.
20 yes, 1 absent. The resolution's adopted. The next item of business is F2B. Chair will stand for motion on item F2B, Resolution 1406-009, to amend the general county fund budget by $372,493. Commissioner Kirby moves. Commissioner Lambert seconds. The motion is to adopt Resolution 1406-009. Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt.
You have 20 yeses.
20 yes, the resolution is adopted. The next item of business is F2C. The chair will stand for motion on item F2C, Resolution 1406-010, to amend the general purpose schools budget by $345,148. Mr. French moves. Commissioner Kirby seconds. The motion is to adopt Resolution 1406-010. Commissioner Burkhalter, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know who would be best to answer this question, but I am under the impression that the schools must maintain a certain level of fund balance, and I would like to make sure that this transfer does not violate or put the school system into a position to where they will be below that fund balance minimum. Because from my understanding, if they go below that, then we will have to give them additional funding to bring them back up.
Mr. Logan, is he available? Let's see, Mr. Logan. Commissioner Burkhalter, this was before the Agenda Committee, which you chair. And if I'm not mistaken, in the budget meeting, this request had been approved by the school board.
Mr. Chairman, the school board has given us requests before, which wound up violating the minimum fund balance use, so I just would like to get clarification. Then the question's out there. I don't know the answer, and if there's no one in the room that can answer the question, then I'll just have to vote accordingly. I'm just trying to get clarification, that's all.
There's no one here to clarify. Commissioner, is there a motion in your? Mr. Folks, you're recognized.
Mr. Burkhalter's question makes me uneasy as well. I don't like voting on things when we don't have vital pieces of information. I would make a motion to postpone this until we can pick it up in the special budget meeting if we have to.
A motion to postpone, is there a second? Hearing no second, motion fails for the lack of a second. Commissioner Samples, you're recognized, sir.
Mr. Logan presented this to the Budget Committee. I dare say that he would not present this transfer if it took him under the prescribed limit for the fund balance. I just can't imagine he would do that. He's been very cautious about that in the past. I don't want to speak for him, but I think if it had been a question, he certainly would have presented it to the Budget Committee.
Commissioner Burkhalter, you're recognized for the second time, sir.
Mr. Chairman, my only question, like I said, is if members of the Budget Committee, in their packet of information, this came up. I know the mayor chairs that committee. Like I said, part of where we are county-wise has been because of different departments and including this own body using fund balance. I just want to make sure that before we can't stop what the school board has already approved how they want to spend their money. I mean, we understand we can't do that, but I just want to know before I vote that I'm not voting on the use of a fund balance. And if Commissioner Farmer has any more information, because he is at all the school board meetings and he feels comfortable with this, that this isn't going to violate our maintenance of efforts or violate the school board's fund balance, I'll take his answer. I just want that second opinion of comfort. That's all. Thank you.
Commissioner Samples, you're recognized for the second
Could I
time,
ask
sir.
Ms. Janot a question?
Ask the question, please.
Susan, do you have the school board school department fund balance information?
That's what we were just looking up here online. Just one moment, let me get back to that screen. At June 30, 2013, which would be the beginning of this year, they had approximately $1.3 million in undesignated fund balance, with another another 1.8 in restrictions and reserves.
And the
Samples.
requirement of their fund balance is what?
3%
3% of 80,
of total budget.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
Mayor, you're recognized.
I agree with what Commissioner Burkhalter said. Looking at this right here, I would feel better if we had Troy here to give us an answer on this, because I'm looking at their fund balance now, and I would feel a lot more comfortable if they were here to look at this and to give us an answer on this.
Commissioner Farmer, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I can't answer for the finance director. That's about as simple as I can make it.
Commissioner Kirby, you're recognized.
Yes, I'd like
First
to
time.
we move this thing back to the Budget Committee for more research, if you don't
Have a
mind.
motion to refer back to the Budget Committee. Commissioner Kirby moves to refer back to the Budget Committee. Commissioner Lambert seconds. Discussion on the motion to refer back. Commissioner French, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, based on the figures the mayor gave me, 1.3 and 1.8, was that correct?
Ms. Janot, you're recognized.
Yes.
If my addition is correct, that's $3.1 million, and 3% of $81,700,000 is $2,451,000. So if you do some quick addition, 300 and something thousand from 3.1 million is going to leave you about 2.7 million. I mean, that's basic math. If the figures that we got were correct, that's basic math. So I'm assuming that's 3%. That 3% is going to remain there. Just a fact.
Commissioner Lael, you're recognized. Commissioner Lewis.
Now my only question is on that fund balance figure. That was as of June 13. So that would not have included any transfers that have been made out of that since that time to present. Is that correct?
Ms. Janot, you're recognized.
Yes.
Okay. And we don't have those transfer figures here tonight to be able to know what that figure is, correct?
Ms. Janot.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Harrison, you're recognized.
Yes, I just want to reiterate, I don't feel comfortable without a representative from the school or finance director being here.
Commissioner Burkhalter, you're recognized. First time speak on the motion to refer back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a question for Ms. Janot.
Ask the question.
I understand that this was a coordinated transfer with the Highway Department, General County, and the schools. If we do not do this tonight, does that put in jeopardy anything going forward?
Ms. Janot, you're recognized.
I believe the preference would be not only from our department, but from the auditors, that we handle all funds the same. And if we go ahead and do the surcharge for one fund this evening or in this current year, I believe they would prefer that we do all of them at the same time. So likewise, if we need to wait on the school piece, I think their preference would be that we wait on the other funds as well. Does that answer the question?
Mr. Chairman, if I can follow up, please.
Ask your question, Commissioner.
Ms. John, I think I understand. More as a procedural viewpoint, you all would rather have all of them wrapped up together. And my understanding from what you're saying is this could be an audit finding because the fund would be underfunded. Is it possible for us to fund this $362,000 out of general county fund balance instead of putting that onto the school system?
Ms. Janot, you're recognized.
No,
Commission will be in order. Ms. Janot?
No. Per the auditors, we have asked that question, and the answer was no.
Thank you.
Commissioner Farmer, you're recognized for the second time.
Thank you, Mr.
No,
Chairman.
you're recognized for the first time on the motion to refer back. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was presented at the school board. It was presented at the budget committee. It was presented at the agenda committee. I'm sort of at a loss why we wait until tonight to bring up this issue. Obviously, I don't think it would have been brought forward if it had put the school system in violation on the fund balance. Vote how you want to, but I think my math works along with Mr. French's. No, we don't know for sure, but we had 3 bites at the apple before it got to here.
Commissioner Folks, you're recognized on the motion to refer back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, anything based on June of 13, 1 year ago figures, you can use any math you want. It's not valid. You need to know what the balance is right now. You can add up numbers any way you want. You're using old numbers. They're no good. So let's not make it too complicated. The second thing is we can easily do this in the fiscal year, which is what the auditors would be worried about. They want it all done in the fiscal year. And we can do this. We have a budget committee meeting on Monday where it can be taken up again. We have a special called meeting on the new budget on June 30th, and we can easily add it to the agenda then. And we can know what we're talking about. So we should do it that way. Let's not make it so complicated.
Commissioner Folks, I believe the special call for the budget committee may have the items set, and I don't know if previous notice being given would allow us to put it on the special call. I've got a strong feeling that it wouldn't, but it definitely could be brought up in the budget discussions on June 30th. And I'd like to direct that inquiry to Ms. Janot. Could it be brought up in the June 30 meeting, call meeting on the budget?
The commission meeting,
Yes.
to my knowledge, yes.
Commissioner French, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess it's my misunderstanding when you gave me the dates of June 13, 2013. Okay,
Yes,
I misunderstood that. However, with that being said, I'm going to move that this item be moved to the special called commission meeting on June the 30th.
Commissioner, that's not a valid motion. We have a motion to refer to the budget committee on the floor.
Then may I make an amendment to that motion?
That's amendable.
Thank you. Since the budget committee has already passed it and sent it to the full commission, my amendment would be to send it to the full commission because Mr. Logan will be at the special called budget committee and rectify the situation.
The call for the special call budget meeting on 23 June to take up the resolution for setting a tax rate and a resolution for making appropriations. And this would be a budget amendment. It wouldn't be setting an appropriation. We'd be dealing with a budget amendment. So I don't believe it would meet the specifics of the call. But you're amending the motion to refer to the 30 June full commission meeting. Is that correct?
Since the budget committee has already passed this and sent it forward to the full commission for approval, and should it not go to the special call commission meeting for full approval? Since the budget committee has already approved it.
The budget committee
it doesn't make sense.
excuse me, sir, the Budget Committee refers to the Agenda Committee only. And then the Agenda Committee brings it forward to this meeting tonight.
Which was done at the Agenda Committee, which was done at the Budget Committee. So we've gone through the process and went.
Commissioner French has made a motion to amend the motion to refer to June 30 special call meeting of the Blount County Commission. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Wright seconds. Discussion on the amendment. Commissioner Samples, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I just would like to ask, how can we discuss items that pertain to the current year budget when the call was issued specifically for consideration of the next budget? We've already issued the call. It's already been published, I assume.
It has been.
And that is to deal with the new budget.
It has not been. The call for the special call meeting of 30 June has been published.
Rhonda's indicating yes, so I have that question. I don't think we can do that.
There's still time to amend the call because 5 days previous notice is all that's necessary, so there's still publication time to amend that and take that budget amendment up before this. It could be added into the special call meeting, and I believe that was Commissioner French's intent of his motion that as the amendment that we're discussing.
Can we just delay this until later in this meeting and get Brett
I have a motion to table the item. Is there a second? There's a motion made to table, and there's been a second. The motion to refer and its amendment go to the table. It's not debatable.
Who made the motion?
Motion maker on motion to table is Commissioner Samples. And Commissioner Burkhalter second the motion to table. Everyone clear that the motion to amend and the motion to refer goes to the table. Vote yes to table. Vote no not to table. Mr. Farmer's absent. Announce the results.
Yeah, 15 yeses and 4 noes and 2 absent.
The motion is laid. The motion to lay on the table is carried. We'll move on to item F3. The chair will stand for motion on F3. Resolution 1406-011 to recommit fund balance previously designated for self-insurance to capital projects. Burkhalter moves. Commissioner Lewis seconds. Commissioner Folks, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This makes no sense. We're putting money into a fund, which we call the capital fund, but although the state comptroller recommends strongly that we have a capital fund plan, we have no plan for that fund. So we're putting money into a fund and we have no plan as to how we're going to spend it. That makes no sense. In the real world, you come up with a plan and then you fund it. That's the way the real world works. If we put this money in a fund, then sometime next year, somebody will come along with some project which may or may not have any merit, and they'll tell this commission, don't worry about it, because we got the money put aside. And that money will get spent. And there's at least a 50-50 chance it'll be a harebrained project. because we had no plan. Now, the excuse that was used in the agenda committee meeting was that we haven't had time to come up with a plan. But I would remind everybody that this administration's been in place for 4 years, and they haven't come up with a plan. I think that's adequate time, 4 years. So this makes no sense. This money ought to go into the debt service fund to pay off some debt early for a change. Thank you.
Commissioner Prince, you recognize, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Ms. Janot.
Ask questions, Chair, please.
Susan, can this money be put in the debt service?
Ms. Janot, you
Can
recognize.
it be designated for debt service?
Ms. Janot, you recognize.
My understanding would be no.
Thank you. Commissioner Farmer, you recognized.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Wright, you're recognized.
I would like to see a plan on this. I have a tough time as well voting for money that just sits in a fund, not being appropriated towards any specific function. So I won't be voting for this. Thank you.
Commissioner Merle, you recognize.
Yes, I'd like to ask a question if I could.
Ask questions.
Can we get a list of capital projects from each department head? I mean, I know that things come up that are going to be unexpected that we have to have a backup plan for, and that's what this is for. But there are things that we need now that I'm sure each department head can give us a plan of what they find as a priority for their department. And that's pretty simple, and I think I'd be more than willing to do this if I knew what was coming up the road. And I think that's what we're asking for. Thank you.
Is that in form of a question to Ms. Janot?
Yes, can we get a list of capital projects?
Ms. Janot, you recognize.
It'll take some time to do that for everybody, for all the other departments.
Yes, but it will take some time.
Are the members, Commissioner Burkhalter, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I understand that one of the commissioners said that we've had 4 years to come up with a capital project plan, and I applaud the department heads and the other elected officials that have been able to take care of their capital needs out of their ongoing budgets, because that's where I think most of them have taken care of their capital asset needs, has been out of their ongoing operations and maintenance. But I think it's just prudent accounting to move and to designate, even though we don't know what it's going to be for. It could be for a new roof for the courthouse. It could be whatever. We don't know. And even if we get a list from each department head, it could change the next day. But I think the most prudent thing is us having the foresight to say we need to set aside money for some use in the future, because when we have a capital project that comes up, we won't have to borrow money for it, but we will have already designated our fund balance set aside for those capital projects, whatever it might be. And the nice part about it is that the body that sits up here has to approve those expenditures before they can ever be spent for anything. So even if we had a list and we had a plan of what each of the departments needed, this body has to approve each disbursement before it ever goes out, regardless of what the list says. So I think it's the most prudent thing for this commission to go and set aside funds, show people that we are facing into the future, instead of always saying whenever we need to build something, we're going to borrow money for it. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Commissioner Kirby, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This don't pertain to schools. It's only pertain to regular government. And we're self-insured. We don't, if a roof blew off this building, we don't call an insurance company. They come in here and fix it. No, we take it. This capital, this should be set up. This fund should be started tonight. Thank you.
Commissioner Wright, you're recognized for the second time, sir.
I motion to postpone until we have a capital plan.
Motion to postpone Is there a second?
Second.
Pending motion is to postpone until,
We have capital plan for projects.
motion should be stated postpone to a time certain or to postpone indefinitely. Postpone indefinitely, the resolution is gone upon the vote if it's carried.
Postpone 2 months, 60 days.
Motion is to postpone until the August regular meeting. Mr. Folks, you were the second. You concur.
Aye, second.
Discussion on the motion to postpone until August. Commissioner Burkhalter, you're recognized.
I just wanted a point of clarification from Commissioner Wright when he says that he wants a capital plan. How detailed of a capital plan is he expecting to get? Is it from every department head? Is it just from a few departments? Please enlighten us so that way when this comes back up in August, we can vote.
Commissioner Wright, you're recognized for an answer, sir.
Well, I'd like to see, everything prioritized into a list of projects that would fit this criteria, perhaps, a set of projects that would make sense for the county and that money would be used to the best use, basically. And in 60 days, we would hopefully have that list of projects in hand.
Thank you. Commissioner Burkhalter, you're satisfied? You yield the floor. I yield the floor. Commissioner French, you're recognized on the motion to postpone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, sir. I have two questions for a point of clarification.
Ask the question.
For Ms. Janot.
Ask the question.
One, what can this money be used for? If it can't be used for debt service, what can we use it for? And my second question is, if this money is not designated, where does it go? I'm just curious, does it stay where it is? If it stays in the insurance fund, it'll stay there and lay dormant until we decide what to do with it? It's a point of clarification, so I'll know which way to vote.
Ms. Janot, you're recognized.
First of all, currently, back in February, this body voted to commit a portion of the funds that went back into fund balance based on last year's audit, and you committed them for the insurance surcharges that we've discussed tonight, and you also set aside some money for capital purposes. And that, my understanding has been that's just been a general amount. It wasn't tied to any certain plan at that point, but just as a start so that we can know that we have some money set aside. So those funds, because you have already set that aside, that will, and hopefully I'm answering your second question, those funds will essentially still be set aside as committed. It's a committed portion of fund balance that remains that way until you take further action.
Commissioner Samples, you're recognized on the motion to postpone.
I guess this goes toward a motion to postpone. We did commit $445,000 earlier, to Mr. Burkhalter's point of planning ahead. And if you're in business or if you're in a banking position, you know that you're not going to go to a bank and say, I'd like you to give me $400,000. The first question they're going to ask you is, what's this for? Give me a list of what you're going to buy. Give me a list of what you're going to do. I don't think it is too much to ask that we postpone, because the money's gonna be there. And when we get the list, it might total up 300,000, it might total up 600,000. But the money's still gonna be there. It doesn't mean that we necessarily have to do it tonight. I'm gonna be voting for the motion to postpone to August. Thank you.
Commissioner Folks, you're recognized on the motion to postpone, sir.
I enthusiastically endorse what Mr. Commissioner Samples just said. No organization just throws money in a pot and says, well, we're going to use it someday. That's not the way the real world works. And that's not the way things should be working around here. We should demand a level of professionalism in this county that pays attention to basic business principles, which is that you have a list of projects, and in coming up with that list, you'll have to make a lot of tough choices. The schools tried to come up with a list of capital projects. And as far as I know, they're still at it after several months, because the first list they came up with brought objections from all kinds of people that their priorities were wrong. And I would hope that a discussion of the list of capital projects for General County Fund would go through the same kind of vetting process. What is the most important thing to spend money on? What's the next most important thing? And yes, changes come up and maybe new things come up, but at that point, you get out the plan and you go through the same kind of discussion. Okay, we've got a new demand. And where does that fit in our priorities? Now, if you don't have any priorities and you don't have any list, you're going to waste money. It's guaranteed. That's why businesses go through these processes. And we need to go through the same kind of process. You can't go into a banker and say, I want $500,000 without a business plan of what you're going to use it for. He'd kind of like a warm feeling that the money's going to be widely used. And I think this commission would kind of like a little bit of assurance that the citizens' money is going to be widely used in the form of a plan. Let's stop arguing against a plan. I mean, it just doesn't make common sense to argue against having a plan. I mean, it's almost beyond my comprehension. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis, you're recognized.
Yes, and the concept here is important. We've talked for over 2 years about having money available to do projects. We've brought projects up to this commission where there has been no funding available, and because it was an emergency, had to go find funds in order to get those things fixed or repaired.
Commissioner, I need to interrupt you. Officer. I'm glad that we're not having somebody standing up. Would you please close the blinds in the back? It's blinding these folks. Commissioner Lewis, if you'll continue.
These funds that we've talked about and we all agreed back in February needed to be put back, or part of the reason to do that is so that we don't have to go borrow money. This is a fund. We know there's going to be capital projects. There's no question. There's also no question that $800,000 won't be enough over time to take care of those. So it's a matter of which do we do first? Do we make the investment so that the capital funds are there and we can get a plan that we can use towards that amount of money in there? Or do you come up with a plan and then go try to figure out how you're going to fund it? You have to fund those projects before you know they're there, so that when they occur, we have a means to be able to take care of those. That's the reason. This is the chicken and the egg. You got to have one. You got to have both to make this work. You just can't have a plan, and you just can't have the money. but you got to have both. This is a way to fund, start to fund, and it's not enough, but it's a good start. Those funds that we know that are going to occur, whether we know exactly what those projects are today or we know them 60 days or 90 days from now, that plan is going to come forward. If we don't have any funds in there designated for that, then it doesn't matter. So I am absolutely for the fact that we ought to put this money back and that we ought to have a plan. But to simply not fund it because you don't know what you're going to do first is not a good idea. Thank you.
Commissioner Farmer, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I will direct this to you, and you can refer it to Ms. Janot if you choose. If we transfer this into this fund, as has been forwarded to us, can this money be spent on any project without the approval of this commission?
I can answer that, Commissioner, but I'm sure Ms. Janot can give an answer too. It has to be appropriated by this body. Ms. Janot?
That is correct.
Therefore, postponing it is kicking the can down the road.
Commissioner Kaler, you're recognized on a motion to postpone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I got a couple of questions, and I think that the best person to direct them to would be the mayor. If I have your permission, please.
Ask a question.
Mr. Mayor, if we're putting a lot of emphasis on a plan, and I'm strongly in favor of that, but to say we're going to do a plan, do we have a process in place whereby we have a means to do a plan? There's a certain amount of expertise that has to be involved when you're talking about deciding decisions about a building such as this or any of the other properties that the county owns. Do we have a process in place in order to develop a plan that would yield sensible results?
Mr. Mayor, you're recognized.
A capital needs plan was submitted on 4/7/2014 to the Budget Committee for information only. It's on the budget pack on the website for y'all to look at anytime you would like to. But we have a plan that goes through for a 3-year plan, capital needs plan, that was submitted to the Budget Committee on 4/7/2014 with a list and a cost of the things that need to be done.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr.
Well,
Kaler.
That kind of negates my question.
Commissioner Folks, you're recognized, sir, on the motion to postpone.
If there's a plan, why hasn't it been presented to this commission? And why isn't it in the packet tonight so we can look at it? I mean, why do we have a secret plan?
Commissioner, I believe if it's online, it wouldn't be secret. Continue, sir.
It's not in this packet, and we're being asked to move money, a lot of money, $442,000. And we asked about this at the agenda committee, and nobody mentioned a plan. All of a sudden, there's a plan. Interesting. There's a real problem in the way this county's being run and the professionalism with which it's being run.
Commissioner Burkhalter, you're recognized for the second time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In regard to this motion to postpone,
That is the pending motion.
Correct. I think it'd be more prudent for this body to approve the designation of funds and then to deny any use of those funds until a plan has been submitted. Thank you.
Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to postpone the item. Vote no, not to postpone. You're recognized, Mr. Farmer. For what purposes you seek?
I'm absent.
Mr. Clerk, thank you.
And 5 yeses and 15 noes.
5 yes, 15 noes. The motion to postpone fails.
Point of order here, my vote got registered wrong. It should be yes. If the clerk could take care of that.
Sure.
I hit yes, but it got registered wrong. If I hit
6 yes and 14 no. The motion to postpone fails. The pending motion is to adopt Resolution 1406-011. Mr. French, you're recognized.
Chairman, I'd like to recognize Commissioner Burkhalter's suggestion as a addendum to the motion.
The motion is to adopt the resolution.
Which was to adopt the resolution and not designate spending of the money until we submit a plan.
The motion's not in order because that's the way the system works, Commissioner. Ms. Janot, will you?
You're correct, Commissioner Moon. This is simply a recommitment. It's a shift from one fund balance bucket to another. There's absolutely no spending involved. And you would have to come back, the Budget Committee would have to send another resolution through an amendment to appropriate the funds. So absolutely no spending with this.
Are the members ready for the question? The pending motion is to adopt Resolution 1406-011. Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt.
We have 16 yeses, 4 noes, and 1 absent.
16 yes, 4 no, 1 absent. The resolution is adopted. The next item of business is F4. The chair will stand for motion on F4. Resolution, Commissioner Burkhalter moves. Commissioner Burkhalter moves, and Commissioner Helton seconds the adoption of resolutions 1406-003 and 004. These are memorandums of understanding between the Blount County Highway Department and the cities of Friendsville and Townsend. The motion is to adopt resolutions 1406-003 and 004. Ms. Merle, you're recognized.
I almost hate to even ask this question, but I'm sure it's been addressed somewhere along the way. What about the liability of this? If someone uses our equipment and gets hurt, or we use their equipment and gets hurt, how does that work? And I don't even know who to ask that.
Mr. Mayor, if you'd like to answer the question, sir.
I think, looking at it with common sense, I would say that there is some liability there. I'd like to have Don Stallions here to answer that question, though, for us before I would make that commitment. If they're using
Sorry,
our
Mr. Mayor,
equipment.
you can't make amendments or make motions, but we appreciate your guidance on the issue, though.
Okay.
Commissioner Merle, you still have the floor.
I guess I can refer this back to someone and make sure.
It could be postponed until the next meeting.
I guess it needs to be postponed until we can get information to make
We
sure.
have a motion to postpone this item,
Sorry, I think it's a
these
great idea.
items, these two resolutions to the July meeting. Is there a second? Second. Commissioner French seconds. Discussion on the motion to postpone. Are the members ready for the question? The pending motion is to postpone the adoption of the resolutions 1406-003 and 004 until the July meeting. Vote yes to postpone, vote no not to postpone.
We have 11 yeses, 8 noes, 1 abstain.
11 yes, 8 no, 1 abstain, 1 absent. The motion to postpone carries. This item will be moved to the July regular meeting. These items. Next item of business is F6, Resolution 1406005, to close and vacate an abandoned roadbed and right-of-way across parcel 44.00, Blount County Tax Map 4.0, at the intersection of Burnett Station Road and Chapman Highway, Blount County, Tennessee. Commissioner French moves. Is there a second? Commissioner Birchfield seconds. Discussion. Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to adopt Resolution 1406005. Vote no not to adopt.
We have 20 yeses.
20 yes, 1 absent. The resolution's adopted. The next item of business is F7, excuse me. The chair will stand for a motion on item F7 to set a public hearing for 6:15 p.m. August the 12th, 2014 in room 430 of the Blount County Courthouse for the purpose of hearing testimony and public comment on a resolution to amend the zoning resolution of Blount County, Tennessee, adding new requirements for commercial campgrounds and RV parks, and allowing such as special exception with specific limitations in the R1 Rural District 1, R2 Rural District 2 zones, and applying the same requirements in S suburbanizing. Ms. Lambert moves. Commissioner Kirby seconds. The motion is set a public hearing. Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to set the public hearing. Vote no not to set.
We have 20 yeses.
20 yes, 1 absent. The public hearing is set for 6:15 p.m. August 12, room 430 of the Blount County Courthouse. Next item of business, F8. The chair will stand for motion on F8. Resolution 1406006, delegating the authority of the Blount County Legislative Body to allocate space within county-owned buildings to Blount County Mayor and discharging the Space Allocation Committee. Commissioner Lewis moves. Is that correct? Commissioner Burkhalter seconds. The motion is to adopt Resolution 1406006. Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt.
We have 19 yeses, 1 no.
19 yes, 1 no. The resolution's adopted. Congratulations, Mayor Mitchell. The chair will stand for a motion. Item F2C. Is there a second? Second. Commissioner Sample seconds. Vote yes to take from the table Resolution 1406010. Vote no not to take from the table.
We have 18 yeses and 2 noes.
18 yes, 2 no. The item, the chair will now, the pending motion becomes an amendment to place this item on the June 30th call meeting of the Blount County Commission on 30 June. To postpone the motion, the amendment is on a motion to postpone. The pending motion is to add this to the June 30th call meeting of the full commission. Discussion on the amendment. Commissioner Burkhalter, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. If anybody in the time that we have been meeting here tonight has been able to contact either Superintendent Britt or Mr. Logan, if anybody in this body or in the audience has been able to contact one of those two individuals to get us an answer as to the fund balance.
Commissioner Farmer, you're recognized, sir.
Well, are we discussing an
We're
amendment?
adjusting the amendment. But if
I
you-
did contact Mr. Logan. He apologized. He said he came to the Budget Committee and came to the Agenda Committee, and when he wasn't asked then, he did not come tonight, but this does not put him below the 3% mandated amount.
Commissioner Burkhalter, you're recognized.
Based
On
upon
the
that,
amendment.
on the amendment to postpone, based upon that information, I don't see any reason for us to postpone this issue any further than go ahead and voting on it tonight.
So I take it you're in favor of postponing or not in favor of postponing?
I am not in favor of postponing.
The pending motion is to amend the motion to postpone, moving it to the special call meeting on 30 June. Vote yes to amend the motion to postpone, vote no not to amend.
What does a no get us and what does a yes get us, Mr. Chairman?
A yes amends the motion to postpone, which then we would vote on. We'll be making, if you vote yes, it will go in the call for the special meeting on June 30th. If you vote no, then the motion to postpone will be the next pending motion. Right now, we have a motion to postpone. Mr. French made a motion to amend that, to move it, to postpone it until 30 June special call meeting because we can change the legal notice in the ad in the paper. So the only thing we're discussing is the amending of the time to postpone.
And if we vote no, we can still do it tonight.
If,
Takes two no votes to do it.
be in order, please, be in order, be in order. Vote yes for the amendment of Mr. French specifying 30 June special call meeting. Vote no not to amend.
You have 1 yes and 18 no's.
1 yes, 18 no. The motion to amend fails. Now the pending motion is to postpone the matter until the July meeting. That was made by Mr. Wright, seconded by, I don't have the second, Mr. Folks. Call for the floor. Commissioner Samples, you recognize.
I call for the question.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded to move previous question. Vote yes to end debate, vote no not to end debate. Please vote. The pending motion is previous question. Vote yes to continue discussion on the pending motion to postpone. Vote no not to continue discussion. Please.
You hadn't confirmed it. Vote. Vote.
Point of order, Commissioner, you misstated. You said if we vote yes, we continue discussion. Call for the previous question, so a vote.
Yes ends discussion, and we go to immediate vote on the.
Then vote.
It's not confirmed yet.
You have 18 yeses and 2 no's.
18 yes, 2 no's. The pending motion will be The vote announcement's been made. Your vote won't change. We have 18 yes. The pending motion is to postpone this item until July's meeting. Vote yes to postpone this item. Vote no not to postpone this item. The pending, listen. The pending motion is to postpone this item until July's meeting. Vote yes to postpone. Vote no not to postpone.
You have 2 yeses and 18 noes.
2 yes, 18 no. The motion to postpone fails. The pending motion is to adopt Resolution 1406010. Are the members ready for the question? Vote yes to adopt the resolution. Vote no not to adopt the resolution.
You have 19 yeses and 1 no.
19 yes, 1 no. The resolution is adopted. Item G, announcements and statements. Item H, public input on items not on the agenda. Sir, if you'll come forward and introduce yourself and the district in which you live.
Hello, my name's James Lyons. I'm in District 4, specifically on Hughes Loop. And I just wanted to come. My wife has been here a number of times, Rosalind Lyons, you probably remember her. She's working tonight, and she asked that I come and go on record publicly to let the commission know how much we appreciate your assistance with getting water from the South Blount Water District. A number of folks who have wanted water now have access to it. So we certainly appreciate the commission's efforts on our behalf and also the mayor's efforts on our behalf. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Also like to recognize the sheriff and their department for having, and I know they're probably not here tonight, but I wanted to let you all know that they're working with us in setting up a neighborhood watch and getting the signs up. We have seen some significant improvements in our neighborhood, and we're looking forward to that continuing. Thank you very much for your time. Good night.
The chair will stand for a motion to adjourn. Without objection, we're adjourned.